YouTube. I'm here to do my predictions for UFC 246. Let's start the bomb. The first fight is Sabine Mazo versus JJ Aldrich. To me, I think Sabine's alright. She's well-rounded, but I don't think she's super amazing. To me, I think JJ's got a massive advantage in the stand-up. I think on the ground, it would probably be close. Mazo might have a slight advantage, but I don't think by much. I just don't think it's going to go there. I think JJ's takedown defense is way too good, and I think her striking is just way better. I think JJ keeps it on the feet and just outstrikes Mazo for 3 rounds and wins a unanimous decision. Next is Brian Kelleher versus Obsporn. To me, I think Brian Kelleher just has a massive advantage in wrestling. I think O'Day, he looks like a good striker jiu-jitsu guy, but I think he's still super young in his career. He's only like 7-2. He won that fight on the Dana White looking for a fight thing, but I just think he looks super raw, super young. He looks athletic, and I think that's why he got the contract so fast. But like I said, I think Brian Kelleher's got a massive advantage in wrestling and overall experience, and I think that's just going to edge out all 3 rounds for him. He might even get a late finish with like a rear naked choke or something, but I just see Kelleher either winning a decision or getting a late submission. Next is Alsk, can't say his last name, versus Justin Ledet. And to me, I think that Alex is just the bigger, more powerful puncher. I think Ledet, at heavyweight, he was kind of able to outmove a lot of guys. I think at light heavyweight, the issue he keeps running into is these guys they're way more athletic. They're the size of heavyweights, but their build is much more athletic. They've got much more speed, and he can't just dance around them like he was doing to the heavyweights. And I think the same thing's going to happen in this fight. I think the athleticism advantage is in Alsk's corner. I think the power advantage is in his corner too. The overall technique advantage is probably in Justin's corner, but like I said, I don't think he's going to be able to just dance around him for 3 rounds like he did to the heavyweights. That's why he's 0-2 at light heavyweight, because the athleticism factor that he had at heavyweight isn't there. And I just think Alsk is going to win by either round 1 or 2 KO. Next, we got Drew Dober versus Nazareth. Can't say his last name. To me, this is kind of just like, can Drew Dober absorb the power shots from Nazareth? And if he can he mix in the wrestling too? Nazareth's biggest strength is he fights kind of like Jeremy Stevens. He has that big punches, but he throws them in good combos. And he's got good power, and he's got good sprawl and brawl. To me, Drew Dober, it's kind of like a really solid technique, really solid volume, and he can take a shot really well. Both these guys, have really good takedown defense, and Drew Dober is probably a little bit better with his takedown offense. Nazareth, if he is on the bottom, he's not great at getting back up. He's just hard to take down. Like I said, in that aspect, it's really close. Like I said, it's kind of like Drew Dober's durability and volume versus Nazareth's power. It's really close, but I'm slightly leaning towards Dober. I just think he's fought the much better people overall, and his last few fights especially, he has that one loss to the Brazilian guy, I can't remember his name, but he was dominating that fight before he got submitted, and then since then, he's gone like 4 or 5-1 in his last 5, and he's looked amazing. Nazareth, he's on a good win streak, but I think Drew Dober's just fought the better people, and I like the way Drew Dober strikes just a little bit more. I think he mixes up kicks and shit better. I think Nazareth's primarily just a boxer, so I'm leaning towards Dober. I think he's going to slightly edge out a decision. Next, we got Tim Elliott versus Askarov. To me, this is kind of like 2 really good grapplers going at it. I think Askarov's the better grappler overall. I think Tim Elliott's a little bit better of a wrestler. Striking-wise, I definitely give the edge to Elliott. I think that he has better overall movement on the feet. His kind of hard to pin down and shit like that. If Askar can kind of force this to the ground, it could go either way. He's probably a little bit better. I wouldn't be surprised if he might get a submission. But I just think Elliott, if he fights smart and doesn't get taken down, he should edge him out on the feet. I feel like Askar, we saw in his debut, his striking isn't super amazing. I think he really is just primarily a grappler. And like I said, if Tim Elliott uses his wrestling right and just strikes most of the fight, I think he should be able to edge out the decision in this one. Next is Andre Fili versus Sadiq Youssef. And this is really just 2 really good kickboxers going at it. Both these guys have really good takedown defense. They're really good at getting back up to their feet. I think if this is on the ground, Fili's definitely got a big advantage. But I don't think he'll be able to hold Youssef down or take him down. And vice versa, I definitely don't think Youssef can do it to him. His takedown defense is good, but I don't think his takedown offense is very good. Like I said, where both these guys shine is the kickboxing. And it's basically kind of Fili's length versus Sadiq's superior technique, in my opinion. I think these guys both have solid speed and solid power. Youssef might have a little bit more power, but I don't think it's by much. It's really just who can keep it where. If Sadiq can kind of just get in at the right times, he'll win. And if Fili can stay on the outside, I think he'll win. I think he does a better job at striking from range. Like I said, it's just kind of who can do what at the right time. It's really close. I'm leaning slightly towards Feely, but like I said, I think this fight's going to be razor thin until one of these guys catches each other or one guy just edges it out. But yeah, this is probably one of the closest fights on the whole card, but I'm slightly leaning towards Feely. Next, we got Roxanne Modafferi versus Maycee Barber, and to me, my biggest issue with Roxanne is she's never been the greatest at getting fights to the ground. Like, as good as her jiu-jitsu is, she just doesn't have the wrestling. And when it comes to striking, Maycee's gonna beat her ass all day. It's just the truth. Like, Roxanne's striking has gotten better, but there's just such a massive power advantage that it doesn't matter in Maycee's corner, like the power advantage. Like I said, if Roxanne could pull this to the ground, I definitely think she has a real chance of winning. I just don't see it happening. Like, I want Roxanne to win. I like her more than Maycee, but she's just realistically not. Like I said, I don't see anything that's changed in her game that would make me believe she could take Maycee down and that she'll be able to survive the power on the feet. So I got Maycee winning by either round 1 or 2 KO. Next, we got Anthony Pettis versus Carlos Diego Ferreira. And this is kind of, it's weird because sometimes Pettis does well against these types of fights and sometimes he's not able to get off at all. It's kind of just how he is on that night. Like, sometimes guys that just recklessly push forward against him, he's able to just light up. And then other times, they just push him forward and he can't do shit. So, it's hard to tell with Pettis sometimes, you know what I mean? Um, this is so tough because I do think wrestling-wise, Carlos has got the advantage. Overall, grappling-wise, it's pretty close, but I'm slightly leaning towards Pettis. I just like his power more in this fight. I think that's the one thing he definitely has over Carlos is he's definitely much more of a power striker. I think if he's able to get off some good shots, he can definitely knock out Carlos. More likely than Carlos will knock him out. So I think this will be a close fight. Like I said, it depends on if Pettis can land the shots he needs to. Because sometimes when guys are very forward pressured heavy, like Carlos is, he tends to freeze up. But as long as he doesn't do that, I think if he can just time it right, he should be able to win by KO. So I got Pettis winning by knockout. Next is Claudia Gadelha versus Alexa Grasso. And to me, I think this is going to be like Alexa Grasso's last fight. I think that the first 2 rounds will be close, but I think Claudia's going to edge him out. And then I wouldn't be surprised if Alexa wins the strong third, but ends up losing a 29-20 decision. A lot of people thought that fight was bullshit. I didn't. I thought it was a pretty clear 2-1. I mean, she didn't. The third round was close. You could have given Alexa that round at 10-8, but she didn't win the fight. She either lost it 2-1 or it was a draw, And that's how I think this fight's going to be. I think Claudia's going to edge out the first 2 just with her vastly superior grappling. But then she tends to gas, and as long as she survives the third and doesn't get a 10-8, she should win a 29 decision. So that's what I got happening. I think so. This will be like Alexa's last fight, and I think Claudia wins 2-1. Next, we got Oleksiy Oleinik versus Marcus Green, and to me, this is just who gets it where first. I think this fight's going to be over in the first round. It's either Marcus going to catch Oleksiy coming in for a takedown, or Alexei's going to drag Marcus to the ground and win by submission. And to me, I'm just leaning towards Oleksiy. I think that Marcus, he's still so young in his career. I think that other than him catching him, if it's on the ground, I think it's going to be over pretty fast. I think Alexei's fought better grapplers overall. Marcus has decent jiu-jitsu off his back, but it's such a different level that if he can't knock him out right away, I think that Alexei's just going to submit him really quick. And this is what I see happening. I think Oleksiy gets it to the ground in the first. Because Marcus Green's never had great takedown defense, I think that he has decent jiu-jitsu off his back, but that's not going to help him here. So, like I said, I think Oleksiy avoids the big punch early, gets it to the ground, and wins by rear naked choke or something like that. Arm triangle maybe in the first round. Next, we got Holly Holm versus Raquel Pennington. And to me, I see this fight being exactly like the first fight. I think both these chicks have kind of had the same amount of wear and tear since their first fight. I think they're both at the same point in their career where they're both still top 10. But they're not as good as they were like 5 years ago, or like 3 to 5 years ago. I do think Holm just has the better movement overall, though, and that's just what's going to help her. I don't think Raquel's going to be able to take her down and pin her against the fence, which is how she wins most of her fights. I think that Holm is the naturally taller and bigger chick, and I think that her technique's just better. Like I said, I think she's going to be able to dance around her and then reverse around the fence and get away and just win the decision, at least 2-1. So that's how I got Holm winning 29-20 decision, maybe 30-27. Finally, we got Conor McGregor versus Donald Cerrone, and this all depends on how Conor looks after this long layoff. I mean, technically, this is stylistically very much in his favor. Cerrone has a hard time with guys who have better boxing than him and have a big speed advantage over him, which Conor has both. But, I mean, on the ground, Cerrone has a big advantage if he can get it there. And like I said, Conor's had a long layoff, and who knows how hard he's actually been training. I know he's ripped, but that doesn't affect your training. That's just weightlifting, you know what I mean? There's a difference. I like Cerrone a little bit more in this fight just because he's been more active. I know that this is technically a matchup that's not great for him just because the way Conor fights, the speed and overall boxing technique advantage that he has is usually something Cerrone has trouble with. But like I said, I think Conor's time off and Cerrone's, activity, plus the fact that, like I said, I think anytime this hits the ground, Conor's got, not Conor, but Cerrone's gonna have a massive advantage. I'm slightly leaning towards him. I wouldn't be surprised if Conor wins by first round knockout. That is the most likely thing that's going to happen, but I'm just edging Cerrone just because he's been more active. And I don't like the fact that Conor's taking all this time off. And, he's got all that muscle on his body. It's like he's always had a conditioning problem. This shit's just going to make him gas out faster. If he can't win by round 1 knockout, I feel like Cerrone is just going to pick up the pace and eventually get the finish. So that's just what I got. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.